the betrayal does not just stop. It's not just within the government. It's also within private institutions. Namely within churches. As we've talked about before, this is a communist revolution. The left has become a cult. Communism is a cult. And they are trying to force things that in different areas to take total control. Our next guest was a math teacher who went public against wokeness, or what I'm going to call the American cultural revolution in education in 2021.
And specifically anti-racism too, which is infecting the school.
Yes.
The philosophy of anti-racism.
He is
very
a
racist.
journalist.
The very racist philosophy of anti-racism, by the way.
Oh yeah. We gonna get into all
quite a misleading title, but yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He is a journalist who exposed drag queen performances in churches in 2022. And he is now the director of the Terra Firma Teaching Alliance. I love that name. A national network for traditional teachers. He is our friend, the incomparable Paul Rossi. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for that very flattering introduction. It's
been a while.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. How's my sound? I'm wearing these ridiculous cans right now because
sound good.
Okay, good.
You sound fine. What mic are you using by chance?
I have this Rode mic that I've been using on some podcasts. It's done me pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
As long as I keep
welcome in, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome in, sir. I have the Rode Pod mic USB. It's a fantastic mic. I love it. Oh, B&H.
Oh yeah,
I got it. Yeah, I got it from over the west side. Oh God, B&H, like no bullshit. B&H is like one of it's like if Best Buy and the Plaza Hotel had a baby.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
I'm dead fucking serious. That place is gorgeous.
Wow. As long as you don't need anything on a Saturday, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or Friday afternoon.
Friday.
Yeah.
Afternoon
So,
until like I'll
so
get my Sabbath
Paul,
confused. Yeah.
So Paul, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
And what has life been for you these days, man?
It's been very interesting. I did find a teaching job for a year at a really wonderful charter school in the Bronx. I didn't think I'd ever find another job in New York. It was quite something. It's called Vertex Partnership Academies, and it serves the local community on the St. Lawrence stop of the 6 train. And they're all great kids.
I used to live over that way.
Yeah, and they, it's virtues based. So we teach, the cardinal virtues. Courage, temperance, wisdom, and justice, not social justice, but justice. And we have not a speck of DEI in the place. Not a speck of
praise God.
Any of that.
I like to hear that. Hallelujah.
At least at the institutional level. Some of the teachers, I got a couple questions about, but overall, massive improvement. And based, it really teaches the kids that you can succeed in America. You can thrive in America if you study hard and you work hard and you maximize your potential in life. So it's a message that really resonates with a lot of the parents in the neighborhood. They want school choice. They want to have a place to send their kids. That's better than the failing schools that Joseph was talking about, which is a national scandal. And I taught there 1 year. It was a great year, very successful. But I had been dreaming to find a place in New Hampshire and fix up a place up there. So I'm up in New Hampshire now. I go back and forth between here and New York. And I'm working a lot on this teacher network that we're growing and developing. And so we help out a lot of teachers that went through that are going through right now the situation that I went through in 2020, 2021, which is about the time when I did the same thing that it sounds like you guys did. I was a diehard liberal. And gradually over, 2017, 2018, I really began to question some of the things I was seeing in the classroom, some of the things that the institution was pushing on the kids, watching its influence on them. And then when it got really crazy in 2020, I kind of was looking for a chance within the school community to speak up. And I did so at a meeting. It was a racially segregated meeting. They took all the white kids, or as they call them, white identified, by
like whatever the fuck that means.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's true. They actually, we had a big debate about the difference between white identified and white identifying, which was this was like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, like scholasticism in the woke community. But anyway, I will say this was not the school where I taught last year. This was the complete opposite. This was an elite downtown Manhattan, majority white parents and kids. But, we had a substantial number of students that were students of color, as they're known. And it was an Episcopal school. So when you mention churches being taken over by the ideology, that's very, very important, because the churches are particularly vulnerable in the way that they've changed over the past 50 years. We can get into why that is. But at this racially segregated meeting, we were all being lectured at by a young woman, very intelligent, but it looked like she was like in her late 20s. And the kids were being told that they were all, victims of white supremacy culture. They couldn't help but manifest white supremacy in their daily interactions with each other, and they were causing trauma to the black students, whether they knew it or not, their fellow peers. And among the things, there's this very famous slide in education, which goes through the list of 15 things that are actually white supremacist, including things like worship of the written word. So if you really love reading and writing, you're a white supremacist. What does that make people, what are we supposed to do? In school?
Hold on a second.
We can get into all this, but yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm sorry. Please continue. Because I'm going to find, because I'm going to look for that. I actually have that, the image of that.
I was going to look at that. Smithsonian, there's one, and also there's
exactly where it was.
American history,
and they put one also. Was it Carranza or something? Somebody had some kind of teaching training, and it had all the New York Post. I think put something up, and that's another one that has a lot of like, what is it? Showing up on time is like
punctuality.
Punctuality is a white person thing. Because I guess nobody in any other country ever worried about the time before, unless it was a white.
Being late to work is a fucking revolutionary act.
Yeah,
but the thing that got me, I hate all this stuff was silly to me, and I was just kind of biting my tongue. But when she said objectivity is white supremacy, I can understand if certain things there aren't objective, certain things are subjective. It's like social context, and different people see things in different ways. I'm fine with that. But when I followed the link on her slides, it took me to this thing which said objectivity full stop is white supremacy in any context. And the kids are going on their phones and they're looking at this. And I said, okay, wait a minute. Okay. I unmuted. I did the thing where you just, in the Zoom meeting where there's hundreds of people and you press that button. And I just kind of interrupted, and I got into a Socratic dialogue with her about, objectivity, like what did she mean by that, and what, because I taught math, and I'm not going to have my students sit there thinking that their math teacher thinks that 2 + 2 = 4 is white supremacy. I'm just not doing that. Right. And then she kind of tried to take my questions and make it look like I had been fragile, that this was my manifestation of inner pain for questioning her wisdom.
Inner pain. Wow.
So she said, you know, Mr. Rossi, as many of you are seeing Mr. Rossi struggle through this, you may find you may have a lot of white feelings about these things. I said, and then I was just like, okay, what is a white feeling? Let's talk about what a white feeling is.
I remember,
you know,
I listened to this.
yeah,
I listened to your episode with Dave Rubin on my way home because I was in the Bronx this weekend, and I came back earlier, and I listened to the excerpt of your show. It was the most disgusting form of gaslighting I had ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I am and go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And you're right. And the thing is, I'm an adult. Okay. I work there by choice. It's a private school. I'm not in a union. You know, I have a year-to-year contract. I made the decision every year to sign that contract and go teach at that school. Okay. It was in many ways, it was a good job. Right. But when they didn't just do it to the teachers, they did it to the kids. And I saw kids really struggling emotionally. And, you know, am I a good person if I confuse my one black friend with another black friend? So, you know, this happened to me. A girl ran into my classroom in tears, crying because she had seen one of her black peers from the back of his head and called him by the name of another. And he turned around and she saw that it was this other person.
Jesus Christ.
And she was like, I'm a terrible, you don't understand. I'm a terrible person. I'm a racist. I'm, you know,
Jeez.
and, you know, I was like, have you ever confused? Okay. Like you can't argue with somebody, but you can say, have you ever confused a white friend with another white friend? She said, yes. And I was like, well, it would actually be odd if you never confused one of your black peers with another black peer. If you do it with white, why would you? She said, yes, but I'm an oppressor. I can't do that because there's like, I'm reinforcing structural racism by doing that. And I'm doing violence.
They said that?
Yeah. So this is, yes.
That's ridiculous.
And when I questioned it, she already had the programming to reject my line of questioning,
your white thoughts and your white feelings.
My white thoughts, because the way this thing is constructed, it's actually like, it's like that meme where, you know, the guy says like, I'm actually kind of, I'm not even mad. I'm like, it's ingeniously diabolical is what it is, that they have built in all of these different tripwires to protect the ideology from any external questioning.
And they rely on people to be scared to question it. Like they rely, like that, like, hey, you're going to be, you want to be called a racist? Do you want to be ostracized from us? So and if you're not at all confident or philosophically able to respond in a skillful way or whatever, you can be, you know, they can trip you up and scare you and be like, oh, I didn't know you were a racist. I didn't know you were. Oh, so you're showing some white fragility right now, aren't you? And it's like, you're like, no, not. You're right. You're totally right. And that's absolutely right. It's very manipulative, very narcissistic. And like you said, it is diabolical in many ways.
There's something masochistic about this. Like, I'm sorry, Paul. There's something very like. Have you ever noticed how? Yeah, like you notice how a lot of these same. I've noticed this. A lot of these DEI and anti-racist, like the CRT people, they have a lot of them have a thing for BDSM. I am not bullshitting you. A lot of these woke assholes have a thing about it because they enjoy, because remember, these people enjoy inflicting pain onto others. Sure. Okay. And since obviously this is how they can destroy and torture the minds of children and adults with this nonsense. And it's literally because this is vile shit. So I'm going to add this.
We should talk about the white. There's some of this
there it is,
to show people. This is from the Smithsonian, right? Institute. So this is not just like some TikTok person.
By the way, this was created by a white
Tumblr.
woman. I'm just going to put that in there.
Yeah.
White woman created this.
By a white woman. And so this is like a legit institution that people go to for knowledge. And so this isn't just like some kind of fringe leftist on Tumblr or something like that.
No,
this is why this is why this is really serious. If it was just a fringe person on Tumblr or TikTok or some like first year gender studies student that just put out a meme, then okay, like I don't give a crap. But this is actually institutionalized widely.
Yeah. So I'm reading from this. White dominant culture or whiteness refers to the way white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the US. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have all internalized some aspect of white culture, including people of color. Never mind the fact that a fucking white woman wrote this shit. Rugged individualism.
Oh my God.
The
used to be a virtue.
The individual is the primary unit. Self-reliance.
Oh my goodness.
Independence and autonomy, highly valued and rewarded. Individuals assume to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. Imagine that.
Only white people think that too, by the way.
Imagine that.
Only white people have attitudes like
Only white people.
Nobody in Asia, nobody in Africa, nobody.
Just the ridiculousness of it.
Only white people.
The ridiculousness that just because we're a bunch of the blacks and the Hispanics. They don't care. They're already collectivists. They're already a fucking socio-political blob. So we just got to get this. We just got to get this shit out of the white people, and then we can all be brought into the all. Like
self-reliance, autonomy. That's not valued in any other region on Earth besides.
Well, the sickest thing about it is that for the black students, it robs them of actual
autonomy.
Well, it robs them of heroes like their black excellence, right? What does it say about black entrepreneurs, black scientists, black doctors, like successful, who actually worked in far more difficult circumstances and made contributions based on exactly these things? They applied these virtues that are now being reframed as vices.
Yeah, it says that they're operating with internalized white supremacy, Paul.
Exactly. So like, not only do they sort of deconstruct what makes a culture, basically makes culture more successful, but it actually robs the identity group that they claim to support of examples of success. So it's toxic and to everyone.
It's like it literally saying like, hey, these people are doing well because they were acting like white people, I guess.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's crazy. Yeah. It's like, no, just people, they're being responsible adults, virtuous people, which is, you could find that in every goddamn country on earth. There's people doing that of every race, every color since the beginning of fucking time. Like,
but see, this is
what are you talking about?
I love the second one. Family structure is white supremacy culture. Right. The nuclear family, father, mother, 2.3 children is the ideal social unit.
Man,
husband is breadwinner and head of household. Wife is homemaker and subordinate to the husband. Children should have their own rooms and be independent. Like, what?
Absurd. The nuclear family is found throughout many species of the animal kingdom.
So what they will do with the kids in second grade? Okay, so I know that I taught high school, but what was happening in all these elite private schools where parents pay $60,000 a year, there's financial aid available, of course, if you want to be a part of this. But they were starting to teach it in kindergarten, and I actually dug into the curriculum. I was like, where did this begin? Where did this come from? I got very curious. I looked into what was being pushed through the conferences, the education conferences that these private schools would send their teachers to. There's one called the People of Color Conference, where, white teachers, teachers of color, black teachers, Latino teachers all get together and scheme up ways to push this stuff on kids in more effective ways. And one of the instruments they used was, they use identity in kindergarten. So they start in pre-K or kindergarten. And the point is like, okay, who are you? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? Okay.
Data mining.
Right. So yes. So they're getting the kids to think about their personal identity first, right? What kind of foods do you like? All right. And then they slowly move to what their social identity is. And they start talking about in what ways are you different from other people? Do the foods you like reflect, what you eat at home? And is that different than what you see other kids eat? Well, that's because you're from this group, and that group is, maybe you're from a Latino, and maybe you're a Black person, and maybe you're a white person. And then they racialize the identities, but they still, it's like that, when Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he tries to switch the pouch. He takes the golden idol and he switches it with a stone pouch to keep the weight on the scale. Like they slowly move them, right? So you start with personal, then you talk about social, and then they gradually drop the personal, and all that's left is the social, and that's identity. So they move beyond personal, and they lose the individualism, and now they're group identities. And then they move on to in history and the present, some groups are treated differently than others in society, and this is how you're treated, and this is how you're treated, and these are the things that you have advantages in. These are things you have disadvantages in. So before they even get to experiences, they've already preloaded or primed the kids to anticipate oppression or see themselves as, well, I'm Latino, so that means that I'm oppressed in my social identity. And so it is taken as a fact, right? And then once you put the theory in, then they start seeing all kinds of examples, right? Because what you want to see is what you're going to see. Yeah. And then they start narrating. So I personally had to lead a circle of kids to go around, and after they had progressed beyond this level and we're now in 9th grade, they had to talk about, well, why are you Asian? And what kinds of ways are you different being Asian? And the kids catch on quick. They're very smart. And they realize that what all the teachers want to hear are the sob stories about how they were mistreated because they were Asian. Or if you're a white person, the things that you did that were bad, that now you feel bad about. That. So
talk about your internalized racism.
They're passing the talking stick around, and they're saying these things. And I needed to disrupt it somehow. I was like, well, these are things that, do we have to define ourselves by our race or how other people see us? Like, if someone thought that I was a great person, all these people said I was a great person, would that make me a great person? And they were like, well, no, maybe you're not. And I was like, well, what if people thought I was a bad person? Would that make me a bad? No. So why do we trust people? Why do we trust what other people say about us? Aren't we the best judge of ourselves and our worth? And like just trying to, because I'm a great believer in questions, Socratic method. If you just lecture kids, they're not going to think about it afterwards. So like I tried to break this stranglehold. And, I think nothing succeeded like this meeting that I was talking about, because what happened when I started to question, the kids in the chat started to question, and other teachers were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm a white supremacist. I don't know whether I take this seriously. And then even the woman, question. So that our white meeting went on for like 3 hours, and there was all kinds of processing and people. And then one of the French teachers cried, and then the facilitator, to her credit, she was like, well, Mr. Rossi really opened up a lot of things for us, and we have a lot to discuss, and I'm really glad he's here. And, he did and I was like, this is great. Like, I feel great about what I did. And even the woman, the dean of students who called the meeting and scheduled the meeting, was saying, like, I'm glad Mr. Rossi's here too. But what was happening while the meeting was going on is that the students of color and the teachers of color, what they had been getting is not any of this stuff. They were getting totally separate content about how, the pandemic was giving them stress, and they were suffering from, a white, basically whiteness, the white gaze, all of this other stuff that they were
the white gaze. What's the white gaze, Paul? It's not
white homosexuals. It's white. Because,
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
right. Not there's anything wrong with that. But this is actually part of the theory. If I look at a black person and especially if I smile, that's a microaggression because I'm making a demand that the black person smile back at me.
God damn, you're demanding, Paul.
And just the power of my gaze is enough to make them feel like they're on a plantation somewhere.
Smile at me, boy.
Exactly, right?
Wait a second, Paul. Is that really what they believe? Is that really what
Yes, absolutely. Because
gaze makes
generational trauma. Yeah, there's generational trauma that I have. Wow. This is the flip side of your S&M point, Isaiah. You're right about the S&M thing, by the way. I have personal friends that I can share that are into that. I'm not me, but anyway, and they're very woke. But I will say this, it's also a crazy form of dominance. Like if I am so powerful,
me, boy.
If I am so powerful that my gaze can intimidate black people, like, oh, of course I feel terrible about it.
Like Professor X, man.
Terrible person. However, it means that I have all of this untapped power that I need to atone for. And, I've done such incredible violence to people. And, that's a weird kind of power.
I can just picture you, Paul, on the train, just white gazing every person of color. Just like this.
Yeah. No, actually,
just
I'm
making
just
them
powering.
I'm
trying to be as small as possible on the six train.
This is so fucking stupid. It's like, you gonna smile for me, boy? You gonna smile?
Exactly.
Good.
You gonna smile? Give me a smile, boy. Show me your teeth.
And it's funny, but it's like it's messed up. It's really messed up and scary because they're teaching children this from a young age.
Yeah,
that's the race relationship.
That is evil.
Yeah, it's
evil. That is untold evil. Like it's evil for adults to do that shit to other adults. But when you're doing this to children, 4 and 5 years, I have a 5-year-old niece and a 4-year-old nephew. If you to try to push that shit onto these little babies before they physically their brains cannot process it. And then when they figure out, because again, the only thing the kids know at those ages are to keep the adults happy. They have to appease the grown-ups, do what the grown-ups say.
Yeah, and also fitting in with their peers at a certain age. And that becomes super
childhood development.
Yeah, and think about it. So it makes
children of this.
It makes the white kids feel like they're freaking predators or something that are just constantly oppressing and causing harm. And it probably feels some of the black kids making it feel like, Jesus Christ, white people are just predators that are going to cause me harm. It's like,
well, it's also in a way it's worse for the black kids, and I'm gonna try to explain why. Because the way it played out in these,
are you going to white-splain? Are you going to white-splain?
I'm going to white-splain.
Are you going to white-splain?
I'm definitely going to white-splain. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you an anecdote, but I'm also going to try to. Yeah. So take it with a grain of white salt. I'm just going to.
We only do pink salt in this house.
Pink salt, Himalayan. Okay, but that's cultural appropriation because I'm stealing Himalayan salt. Yeah. Okay. I've got yellow.
We can go all day with this, huh?
I know, right? Anything.
Oh my God.
So what happens is like there's you ever hear about like oracles? You know what oracles are in classical Greek?
Yes.
They're like they're like visions, you would go to the oracle and the oracle would
actually
tell
I'm an oracle, by the way. That's why I got my name.
You guys are. Yeah. So the teachers, the well-meaning liberal women, mostly women teachers, would treat the black students, particularly the girls, as these kind of transcendental angels that were going whatever they express is some sort of deep-rooted, it's the voice of history, really, because they are as the most oppressed class sexually and in their gender and in their race. What they have to say is actually going to lead us to the great Marxist future, right? Which is
I guess that explains Jasmine Crockett, huh? Is it?
Yeah. Ooh. So that puts tremendous pressure on these girls to because they have no boundaries.
Wait, Paul, stick a pin. Hold that thought. Because if you want to see, because I'm going to show you, here's what these oracles look like. Here's what, you ready for this? Here's what some of these oracles look like.
We're in the middle of a hostile government takeover. I want to talk about it, but
You know,
yes, that's
Wow.
called black joy,
Yeah.
which is also taught to the kids. That's something.
Is that really, Paul? Is
Yeah,
that really
it's
a
actually
thing?
a thing. Yeah,
I
It
can't
is.
believe this shit.
It
man.
is.
It's in Black Lives
is.
Matters.
I imagine
like,
there's no white
thing.
joy part.
No, white joy
segment.
is very bad. We
Yeah,
do
they
not
don't
want
have
white
those
joy.
kind of
You are
sessions.
not allowed to be
Yeah, you are
excited about
not
that
allowed
fucking
to.
vanilla
Yeah.
latte, Paul.
Are there any
You are
January
not
6th
allowed to.
was white joy.
If Gap has khakis on sale, you are not allowed to be happy about it, motherfucker.
No way, man. No way.
Hey man, you
have
can't stop us from getting happy.
can't do it. You are
They
not.
have
When you listen to Huey Lewis, you are not allowed to bop your
to
foot.
be
You are
square.
not
Oh
allowed.
shit!
Yeah,
You
Paul,
listen to the Beach Boys? That's a microaggression.
it is. Yeah, you're just
I'm giving
Oh,
out good
the audacity of caucasity.
Oh,
Oh, do they have
God.
Latinx joy? Any of those?
Yeah,
Latinx?
Latinx joy.
Latinx
Latinx joy.
Latinx?
They dropped Latinx. Then now it's called Latine, like L-I-T-I-N.
With the E at the end, yeah.
Latrine,
because-
latrine, like a bathroom,
Latrine.
like a
Yeah.
bathroom.
You would think that it would be smart
Fucking
enough.
woke shit, man.
Yeah. So
Unbelievable. And they really think.
Yeah.
And what's
Yeah.
hilarious, Paul, is that as you talked about the whole Oracle comparison with black that these
finishes,
white
yeah.
liberal women view black women as, okay, it
mhm.
makes a lot of sense now when we think about one of the biggest phrases that was used in the Democrat Party up until a few years ago, which was black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party.
They're still
yeah,
using that,
yeah.
right? Isaiah, they're
They're
still
still,
saying that.
they some
I heard
do.
it like a couple weeks ago.
Some do.
Yeah.
And it's also the reason why if you look at, matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up. I know I've got this, because that right there is, hold on, I'm just gonna move this to, let me just move this to star.
Yeah.
Oh, make sure you don't
No, no, no.
gaze at us too much. Just maybe you want to
Well,
turn off your
I'm
camera.
sorry. I mean, I don't.
The white
I'm actually not,
gaze,
it's
the
just
white,
that
listen, the white gaze,
triangulating.
the white gaze particularly burns like south of 23rd Street
Yeah,
in Manhattan.
I'm getting as a Latinx
Yeah.
Latinx man right now. I'm getting visions of Christopher Columbus coming to shore.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
since you're an Italian man. And
That's
it's
right.
Really, I'm feeling
That's
a lot
right.
of pressure right now, and I'm just getting these traumatic
Yeah.
visions.
I know.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that
The
I can
Nina, the Pinta,
totally
the Santa
totally
Marina.
turn off my camera.
Yeah.
If this is too much for you, I will.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely
Okay, all
not.
right.
No.
We're just joking. But you can,
Because it
Yeah,
makes
we
me
are.
feel,
We are.
I'm getting off on it actually personally, but I can't admit it. But I'm just letting you know.
Paul's loving the power right now.
I have to feel guilty about it, but I'm secretly enjoying it.
Well, understand
That's fair.
something, right? Like
Yeah.
the one thing that drives me crazy about all this is the fact that, like, the progress pride flag, like black people are treated like these, and I've seen this on many occasions here in New York City.
Mhm.
Black people, especially women and gays, black black gays are treated like oracles. Is why they are placed in, and this is according to intersectionality.
Fucking
Yeah.
oracles.
Intersectionality means you like you can't just be black and something. You have to, and that's it. You have to be black plus gay, black plus trans, black plus disabled, right? Like they and what's crazy is the whole concept of intersectionality, at least has, as I understood it at one point, was that the stacking of identities was something that was not supposed to happen, but it happens on a regular basis. And of
Right,
course,
that's true.
and of course, the lady
original scholarship,
who
yeah.
started, right, the original scholars of critical race theory and all of that, they're just sitting back like,
Well, because yeah, I mean, it started out as a legal theory, and that was kind of describing the intersection was a literal, you're getting hit by cars from different directions. And that means that you are actually in a certain type of legal jeopardy, practically, in the way that the law was practiced on you as a victim. But You're right, but there was a turn where you're right in saying the idea is to sort of liberate from those things, right? To sort of treat things legally. But it was turned by Crenshaw into using black, your identity as power. So that is actually a vehicle that you're supposed to inhabit. You're not supposed to hold up a sign and say, I am a man. You're supposed to hold up a sign and say, I am black, because with blackness, you have a certain status as a member of a protected class, and then that legal stuff came along with that.
You ever notice how
political project?
You ever notice how a lot of the artwork in the last 4 years were devoid of faces?
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen some of that.
That's part of it.
Yeah,
right. It's just skin tones. I just want you to focus on skin tones.
You're just a color form. You're literally like it's true, and you see it in a lot of corporate art. Yeah,
Theo Jordan talks about that all the time.
Interesting. Yeah,
about the faceless, because again, the whole focus throughout the Biden years was that they wanted to atomize. I firmly believe this. Well, I shouldn't say I don't just believe this. I know this to be true. They wanted to atomize all they wanted to atomize all existence. Okay, to where the only thing that you are allowed to see are immutable characteristics. If an immutable characteristic appeared to be a person's black skin, you are automatically supposed to treat them a certain way if you are white. Okay, if you happen to take even deeper look in and you happen to see that they are black and gay, then you treat them with even more reverence and invite them out to brunch. But
it makes you look good that you're sitting next
right,
to
exactly.
These holy priests, high priests,
right, and there's something very demonic about that, because this is why. Because what I've found is that when you start to focus on immutable characteristics, when you start to see colors, and when the only thing that you're allowed to see are colors, character goes right out the fucking window. You can treat you can that is how that is where the proliferation of some other the utter degeneracy that we see in culture these days. The fact that cursing is we do it here, but that's because
I curse
God ain't working. Well, yeah, we curse a lot, but we are working on that. I'm horrible at it.
I'm trying,
but
I should give it up for Lent.
But the fact of the matter is, the overall degeneracy. I just saw something earlier, which I'll probably share, because it ties into what we're discussing. The stuff that we've seen come out of churches and within and within the religious community, it's some of the most evil shit I've ever seen in my life. And Paul, the school that you uncovered all of this in 2021, wasn't that a religious school that you were teaching at?
I mean, it was a WASP school. It was an Episcopal school, and a lot of the WASPy sort of.
Are you Episcopalian by chance?
No, I'm Catholic. Okay. I'm Italian. I'm white ethnic. Catholic.
Not a boy.
So right. So we're often kind of
that was already had to be awkward. No.
Well, actually, it's funny.
Because don't Catholics and Episcopalians kind of look at each other like, ew?
Well, of course, this is part of the reason why it's so easy for, we call it wokeness, to take over these religious institutions, because for the past 50 years, they've bled themselves out. They bled out anything that would distinguish any distinction between good and evil. So the judgment itself is seen as something which prevents the flock from expanding, because all these congregations are competing for bodies in the seats and donations and the new steeple, and
with ever increasing atheism too,
right? So and ever increasing atheism, skepticism, and so they don't want to be talking about good and evil. They don't want to be talking about judgment and discernment, which is going to turn people
sin.
That's bad. We don't want
personal accountability. potential
Right. That's
for
just like no one wants to
punishment.
feel bad, so they want to
Yeah.
make people feel good. So they want to be inclusive, and all that stuff, all that whole part of the religion, which is at least as important as the love and the good vibes, gets stripped away, and you have this sort of amputated, mutant religion, which is totally open to be taken over by, warmed over Marxism or race Marxism or whatever, which is going to be like, to be a good everything is compassion, right? So if I want to be a good person, well, I have to be a good person, and the only way to be a good person is by, helping the vulnerable, right, and helping the souls that suffer, right, suffer into me, and it's like
having
you have to
empathy
be like
for
Jesus,
everybody, no matter
empathy for
what.
everyone. So
Even
then you
criminals,
have this,
even terrible criminals.
exactly. So yeah, you have this exploit in computer code. We call it an exploit, where these people with political agendas can just swoop right in there. And the wasps of 2020 or 2010 or the 2000s have no defense for this, because a lot of their money is very old money, and a lot of our actual country clubs and the golf clubs, they didn't let in blacks and Jews, like, in our lifetimes. So they are, when they hear this stuff from a DEI charlatan telling them, that this is what America is, they're like, yeah, that's my America. All my servants at the Park Avenue apartment are black people. So that actually must be what America is. And so they are way more vulnerable to being taken over psychologically by this than, an average white ethnic Italian guy who grew up with all kinds of people, in the high school, and, knows that black people aren't saints and white people aren't saints.
People
And,
are people.
People are people. So they're the fact that they are sheltered by their money. The other thing it does for them, like the principal or the head of the school that I taught at, was like, I think he's like the second richest family on Long Island. Like they have like money that goes back hundreds of years. Is that it actually removes their sense of distance from other white people. So it's like, yeah, I'm rich and I have like, orders of magnitude more wealth than you do. However, we are white. We are all together in this, and we are all racists, right? So you're just as much, I'm just as bad as you are, and you're just as bad as I am, because we're white. So it faces
shared
the
burden.
wealth inequality.
Yeah.
And it makes them, and it gives them simultaneously the power to lecture you if you don't agree. So it preserves their status while removing the status and making them seem just like you. So it's an incredible like power move in two senses for them, and it's very attractive, and so it makes them like way more vulnerable. And then of course
it's something they can point to morally.
Yeah,
something you point to morally. It's like, no, I'm not racist. Look at me. We got a DEI school. We send our kids there.
I'm not racist. I'm just careful.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not racist. I'm just.
It's funny if you say you're not racist, you're a racist.
Club,
so they don't say I'm not racist. They say I'm racist, but I know it better than you do. So my awareness of my own racism is deeper than yours.
You know what's so crazy? You know what's so crazy, Paul?
I've had arguments with people telling them that they're not racist, and they won't agree with me. Like I'm like, look, you're not racist just because you don't want to sit next to that black person on the train. It's not because they're black. It's because they look like they're dangerous the way they dress and the way they're like, if they were in a 3-piece suit, would you mind sitting next to them? No. Okay. Well, maybe it's not because they're black. It's because you're
if they're laid out on a fucking train bench.
Right. There you go.
With like we're laying in their fucking bedroom. Yeah. Are you, and they smell like they haven't taken a shower in 3 months. Are you going to sit next to them? Listen, if I don't want to sit next to that.
No.
And I've been black all my life.
No, the real question is,
what
are
the
you
fuck?
going to
and hold a second. Does this mean that this just comes off like fucking like dirt? Because I don't want to sit next to some dirty ass bum on the subway. What the fuck are we doing? Oh God. Sorry, Paul.
No, yeah. And so I would try to do the Socratic method thing, and I'd be like, well, what if that person was doing everything, they were behaving exactly the same, they were looking at you the same way, they were dressed the same way, but they happen to have white skin? Would you still want to sit next to them? And they, I'd get to them and be like,
Thank you.
no, probably not, but it's like their culture. And I'd be like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, that they're just adopting Black culture. And I'd be afraid of Black culture, even if a white person was doing it. I was like, is that what you think? Is that Black culture to like be threatening? And what is that? Like, and they're like, I know I'm racist. So, you can't win. You can't win.
You know what that is? This is why leftism is a cult. Okay. Because the one thing that all religions, Christianity, I'm going to use Christianity as a bit of a mirror image to prove my point here. Christianity, there's a verse in the book of Psalms, and I can't remember. I think it's Psalm. I don't remember the exact chapter and verse, but it says, "Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me." I think it's Psalm 50 something. I can't. Please check on that notes if you can. But that verse in the Old Testament is treated as one of like the oldest evidences of a sin nature. Okay, like the human disposition is to sin. It's automatically it's automatically by default we are against what God wants. Okay, now I was raised in this. I was raised in this doctrine. Okay, the doctrine, it's crazy because where so many churches and so many other religious organizations and institutions ran away from sin. My brothers and I, we were blessed to have Kevin and Robin Carter, who over the years, and yes, it drove me crazy, in my younger years, Kevin and Robin made sure that me and my brothers knew exactly what sin was, that we were very much, that we would seek out churches that were not afraid to shy away from sin. Because here's the thing, when you start talking about sin and the transgression from the word of God, okay, what happens is it draws your focus away from the group identity, and it causes you to focus on your individual selves.
Right? That's accountability.
And that's accountability.
Some people don't want to deal with that.
Exactly. And that's why, that's why collectivist nonsense, okay, where the sins of the father are heaped onto the sins of the father, the sins of whatever the grandfather, they're heaped onto a specific group, okay, and that's why they say they use terms like historically marginalized. Okay, this is why they hate, because the thing is, we talk about that sin nature, right? That the humanity is presupposed to sin, right? We've already established that. But the problem is there's no grace, there's no mercy, there's no repentance.
Forgiveness either.
There's no forgiveness of sin.
Yeah.
That's the part. That is the part that makes me absolutely repel leftism, and it makes me despise communism, because there's no forgiveness. It's even why I don't even like Islam, for that matter, because Islam does not, like, there's no forgiveness of sin. There's no forgiveness of sin. It's like what happens is you have to show contrition, and you have to show undying loyalty to, in the communist case, the state, or really the Marxist case, the state. You have to show total fealty to even have a chance at making it in life. And the only time you are rewarded for anything is when, like if you say enough glory to the states. Like I don't like.
No, you could be purged tomorrow, and you're supposed to be done. If you're purged tomorrow,
look at what happened with Gavin Newsom.
Yeah,
look at what happened with Gavin Newsom. Okay, this guy, along with several others in that godforsaken state, was single-handedly responsible for some of the most evil perversions to happen to children. Okay, particularly with the gender cult nonsense. You can thank Scott Wiener for that too. Okay, the thing about, but think about it. Gavin Newsom said, "I'm going to start this new podcast, and I'm going to talk to people that I don't agree with." And the first person that I talked to is Charlie Kirk.
All right.
And Charlie Kirk waxed that ass.
Yeah, I heard about it. I gotta watch it.
But I gotta see it. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either. But the fact is, well, I saw clips.
So I saw a few clips.
The fact is, Gavin Newsom is getting eviscerated by leftists for even talking to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Mhm.